And it all started with a rather routine office visit to my doctor at Leahy Clinic. And while I was there, I had a very good report. He checked all of my vitals and all of my blood work, and I was perfect. No problems at all. But I mentioned to him that I was leaving in a couple of weeks to go to Beijing. And he said, well, you know, there's a new program that we're offering through Leahy called World Clinic. And they offer medical support and emergency flybacks for people who have problems on an international basis, for people just like you. They got all my paperwork through. They got me a little kit bag of pharmaceuticals of a wide variety of sorts to deal with a lot of medical problems that could come up in the field where you needed prescription grade pharmaceuticals, and you couldn't just go out and get over the counters. You needed something, and you needed it in your hands. It was Christmas time. I was thinking about Christ. And so I sing in the choir. And so I went to church on that first Sunday after I'd seen Dr. Woods. And the hymn, the anthem of the day, was On Eagle's Wings. And the lyrics, he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And I thought, how sweet. What a beautiful, beautiful lyric. But lyrics behind me, I was time to go, and I went off to Beijing. And there's an expatriate patriot church there where you can come in from outside and sing in their choir. And you sort of do pickup sticks on the song. And I said, what's the anthem today? And they said, On Eagle's Wings. Wow, what a coincidence. And so we repeated those lovely lyrics. Particularly, he will hold you in the palm of his hand. And Sunday night, about 2 a.m, I awakened suddenly with a crushing pain in my chest and radiating down my arm. And I said to myself, I'm having a heart attack. I picked up the phone and called Dan Carlin. It was he answered the phone. And I said, Dan, I'm having a problem. He said, get your kit bag out. Take a nitroglycerin pill. I did. Take another one. Didn't do any good. And they usually react very, very quickly. And he said, Walt, take a nitroglycerin patch, put it on your chest, lay back, I got you. And Dr. Carlin did several things. He called my associate there in the hotel and got him coming down to get my stuff together. He called the hotel that had a Dr. Stringer next door who started over with his nurse, called an ambulance, and called ahead to the hospital to get them ready to receive me. Well, they do things a little different in China, and instead of a gurney, they put me in a wheelchair, so I had to get up out of bed after my heart attack and sit in the wheelchair, and they rolled me downstairs, out to the ambulance. Well, they didn't have a gurney, so they couldn't push me in, so I had to get out of the wheelchair and climb into the ambulance. The ambulance had nothing to lay on except a wooden plank, and it was, remember, this is January in Beijing. It's about 14 degrees, very cold. And I was afraid I'd go into shock. And fortunately, the very kind guard at the hotel gave me his uniform jacket and put it over me. And we went off to the hospital. It was 2 o'clock in the morning in Beijing, which is usually a traffic nightmare. But we shushed right through, straight to the hospital, and went into the cardiac center. So I immediately got into the queue. I was immediately seen. Normally there would have been a line of Chinese standing ahead of me. He did a clot buster and was about to do a second one, but he called Dr. Carlin to confer, and they talked. And Dr. Carlin said, well, no, you know, the second clot buster usually doesn't do much good because if the first one doesn't break it up, it isn't going to happen. I suggest we go to a more aggressive therapy. And the doctor said, well, I could put in a stent, and it's there now. Well, now it was the end of the week, and it was time to come home. So what World Clinic did was to arrange for a board-certified doctor from Beijing who had an arrangement and was vetted by World Clinic to come to the hospital with his personal ambulance and take me to the airport and then to join me on the aircraft and fly back with me all the way back to Boston, where he handed me off at Logan Airport to Dr. Kylan. So I was in the good hands. Excuse me, I get a little in the palm of the hand of World Clinic. From the onset of my heart attack, the pain, all of that, to the point where I have a doctor on the bed and with his nurse giving me an EKG. I have my associate putting my clothes together to go to the hospital. I have the EMTs pounding down the hall to come and get me. I have the hospital alerted that I'm coming. All of that was done in the first 15 minutes after the onset of the heart attack from a bed in Beijing. That's the kind of turnaround of medical support that saves your life. If it hadn't been for World Clinic, I would be dead. The speed at which they dealt with the problem, the efficacy of the professional contacts, medications, and guidance that they gave, and of course the physical support of the doctor bringing me back, were all part of an integrated program that saved my life, no question.